What have you been saying about these stories and other trending issues? Well, Bukola joins me now to do this. Bukola.
Well, Cardi, as far as trends, are concerned, this is not a very good day, not one of your favorites as a broadcast journalist, but hey, we have to report it as it is. From queuing up to collect bread as palliative to the boat mishap in Niger State is just a tale of woes from different parts of the country. But we'll tell you what you are saying about these events, starting with that video that surfaced of Lagosians queuing up to collect bread. And ID Noble is the first person writing in this morning, and they say, I never thought a day like this can come in the heart of Southwesterners. Well, in the time of Southwesterners, maybe you mean to say, we detest begging. It's what we now do without shame. Kayode.
Well, there you have it. Said to be, bread shared by politician, really, to people to commemorate Nigeria's Independence Day celebration. So I'm imagining that this is meant to be a kind gesture to people. Well, first you can see the crowd. Speaks to how much people need that bread. Speaks to the current situation. Well, some will say this was meant to be just a gesture from a politician and all of it. But some say this just points to the deeper issues around this. And you could see the military had to be there to control the crowd. There's a lot of things to really speak to this. So let's just take some more comments.
And you can see the crowd there, Kayode. As you said, it speaks to deeper issues about how poverty is being weaponized. I imagine that an empowered person will not need to queue up to collect bread. An empowered person will not stand by, in a long line of queues waiting for something as given as bread.
When you think about it, bread now is 1,000 naira plus, right? So this is vital. This is very important to the people, considering the price of bread. But I do hope that, yes, it is good. And well-meaning Nigerians, by all means, this is a time to also give. But I hope we deal with the root issues as well. So this is not weaponized eventually during elections. We saw that playing out in Edo State. So you know that this is a formula. If you want to get people to do something, throw these things at them. So yes, while we may commend the act given, but we should deal with the issues at the heart of it as well.
All right.
There are a lot of other comments to this one. You've been talking about it, but let's show you another issue entirely. And this has been trending on social media for a while. Concerns VDM, Bobrisky, the Falanos, the EFCC, the Nigerian Correctional Service. Yes, it's a lot, and I imagine that you're aware of this. But for the very first time, the senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, has spoken up about what exactly transpired and what is expected to come next. He was speaking exclusively with Channels Television on our program Politics Today. So I'd like you to listen to senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, on the Bobrisky VDM matter. And then, of course, we'll bring you more trends. Take a listen.
I think it's a question of infantile radicalism. Some of our young people are just not prepared to look at the provisions of the law with respect to the law on defamation. So they just simply go out there to embarrass people. I can say this without any fear of contradiction. I have assisted 280 people, convicted people, at home and abroad, to get pardon.
What are you doing to establish your innocence in what has been an allegation on this matter?
No, Seun. Bobrisky never spoke to me. I have never met him. I do not know him from Adam. It was alleged to have spoken to my son, Falani Fars. Yes, my son said this guy was appealing to people for assistance, and he called my son, I think on May 4, thereabout this year. Please, can you give me 3 million naira to be placed in a special part of the prison? We call it the VIP section. And my son asking, are you calling me mobilization of the superintendent of prisons. He said, no, please, don't call me again. I'm unable to assist you to bribe the prison authorities. And be very careful, since you're already in jail for an offense. Please, if you are going to call me next time, you either do it through the superintendent or you write a letter endorsed by the prison authorities. And that was the last. Somebody now said he listened to a tape somewhere and went out to lampoon and rather defame me by saying the guy had spoken to me. Of course, we are going to examine the call logs. And my son has also said, this was the guy who originated a call to me. My son has never negotiated fees.
Senior Advocate of Nigeria there, Femi Falana, providing clarity as to what exactly happened. So it appears now that there's a surfeit of evidence for the House of Representatives or the National Assembly as a whole investigating this matter between Bobrisky, the Correctional Service, and the EFCC. Yeah. From there, we go to another matter this morning, just as disturbing, maybe even more so, the spate of boat accidents, the one coming from Niger State on Wednesday. Channels TV has been able to obtain a video of that boat while it traveled on the river. Let's take that video first, and then we'll take your reactions.
There are lots of things wrong with this, what's playing out here in this video. This was just before the boat eventually capsized. This was, I think, when they took off. And you can see no single life jacket on any of the
anyone.
No, and you can see how much. This is a boat. You'd almost think that this was in a hall or in a room, but this is actually on a boat. So there's the overloading bit. I can't count, but I mean, we understand that there were hundreds of people on that boat, which should have maybe carried 100 plus, but up to maybe 200 plus. I said to have been on that boat, up to 300 actually. So Channels Television got this exclusively, and it just paints a picture.
If there were 50 people on this boat, I wouldn't travel on it. You know, and that's just for a lot of people to think about. And a lot has been said about how the National Inland Waterways Authority, NIWA, should be doing more about boats traveling on water. But what about state authorities? There is a state transport authority here in Lagos that regulates water transport. We could talk about the boat mishap that occurred in Kwara State sometime last year. That was, you know, a tragedy that needed not to have happened. So where are the state transport authorities that would regulate water transport to see to it that these kinds of boats, you know, there was talk about this boat being a very old one, do not travel on water.
And this has, I mean, led to the loss of lives, avoidable, we should say. While this needs to be investigated, we've had too many boat mishaps. You can almost predict that every other month you'll get a report of boat mishaps. But let's see what Nigerians have been saying about this particular one. Well, the president has ordered an investigation into this one, and more importantly, ensure that this does not happen again. So there's probably another boat being boarded in some part of the country about to be overloaded without life jackets, maybe traveling at night, all of those things.
Without passenger manifest, all those, there must be regulation as far as you know, water transport is concerned in states. And you know, some people would want to resort to maybe traveling on water, perhaps because it's cheaper, or maybe they get to their destination faster, or perhaps because the roads are bad, and you know, the fear of traveling at night on road because of the danger of attack or kidnapping. So there must be some more regulation. State governors must do better by their people in regulating water transport. We can't say that enough.
Absolutely. So there you have it. It just paints a picture of what played out. We'll, of course, follow up with this story, get more updates, and ensure that the authorities do right by the people. So a lot of people have been speaking about it. As we said, Baba Jido said not a single life jacket in sight. What a shame. Gabriel has also put up a statement about the capacity of the boat and no one wearing life jacket. But we'll move on to another matter that has been in the trend. And this one might excite road users, Bukola.
Yes, this one will definitely put a smile on someone's face. A federal high court in Abuja has put in place a ruling that prohibits the VIO from stopping vehicles on the road, seizing or taking possession of vehicles, and levying fines on drivers. There must be a better way of regulating, commuting on roads. This intervention of the court will go a long way, but will it solve the problems? There is the challenge of articulated vehicles on the road. Exactly.
So it's like two rights or two wrongs, right? That we're trying to make it right. So there's a challenge of the articulated vehicles, a lot of them not roadworthy. Commercial vehicles as well. Yellow buses, maybe in Lagos, other colors in other states. They are not passenger worthy, road worthy, even animals worthy. Those things should not be conveying animals, but you see them on the roads. Right? Some of them are bent. Some are facing one way, but they are moving another way. I'm sure you've seen those vehicles. They're facing this way, but they are moving this way. They're moving that way. And you're confused.
I thought I was the only one.
Exactly. Some are approaching you on the other side, but it looks like they're going that way. It's just mind-boggling. And you expect that these are the issues that the vehicle inspection authorities...
And some of them look like the container will fall off at any time.
Moment.
And you do right by yourself by just staying behind until the road is clear for you to...
get past them. So these issues are there that need to be resolved. But what you find out a lot of times is that the officials now abuse the power and they're, targeting, road users, innocent road users. Again, there's a third wrong. People who don't have their papers complete. Right. So that helps them perpetrate that illegality in that sense. So the court has come in, but we need to ensure that these issues are solved as well. First, those vehicles are not roadworthy. Those officials who are abusing the power, and the vehicle owners who don't have complete papers or are using vehicles that are not roadworthy.
But there must be, a better way. We can use technology, to regulate road activity. So we must go past this analog system, that's obnoxious and causes delay on roads. But who's speaking this morning? Nigerian Lens is the first, and they say their job henceforth should be to inspect roads if the roads are worthy for vehicle.
That's a fourth wrong.
Use.
The road is not even worthy sometimes.
Right? Instead of inspecting vehicles for roadworthiness.
And Chuk Sandy says to enforce it, will be the hardest thing to do. Secondly, if this is actually authentic, motorists should be well educated on this.
And Annie Upana says, I remember when VIO being the tormentors, well, he went the colloquial way, for not for Ikorekpene Road, you go need to go turn it's like using Calabar ITU to get to where you're going. Well, I believe that those who live in that part of the country understand exactly what you're saying.
Where that place is.
Yeah.
So we need to ensure our car papers are complete. We need to ensure that our vehicles are inspected. And to the officials, they need to ensure that they are law-abiding. So now that we have this ruling from the Federal High Court in Abuja, or this order barring the Directorate of Road Traffic Service, otherwise known as VIO, from further stopping vehicles on the road, impounding them, or imposing fines on motorists, we need to ensure that this law is obeyed. Okay? Let's talk about this rotational presidency bid. Oh, yes, this is another user saying this is good news. VIO shouldn't exist in the first place. Okay. They're just duplication of the work of the FRSC. Well, that is really debatable.
And suffice it to say that this is not the first time the court is intervening in this space to try to provide clarity on which state government agency or federal government agency should do what.
Well, FRSC, as the name implies, Federal Road Safety. Right. And then there's a vehicle inspection bit. Maybe they can merge them and all of that, but I think these roles are very, very important and they need to be done properly. So let's just give you one more. It's quite a lot trending, but this rotational presidency bit by a former vice president and PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar has got a lot of people talking. Well, he wrote a letter to the Senate asking for or asking them to consider a 6-year presidential term. Right now, what we have is 4 terms. You can do it twice.
Renewed.
Exactly, but imagine this one is 6. But once, single tenor. So Precious Canning says it doesn't matter if they stay in power for 8 or 6 years. Bad leadership and corruption are our central problems. Another concern, this user says, is if this proposition is truly for the good of Nigeria or the ambition of the author. Okay.
Another piercing one, typical of our writers. This next one is from Balatic, who says, that would help solve some of the bigotry. Yes. Well, maybe if you're talking about the rotational presidency bit of it, of the proposal, it should start from the 3 zones yet to produce a president since 1999, North Central, Southeast, Northeast, North Central. We've had, I believe, a military administrator from the North Central in the past, maybe not under the dispensation of democracy.
Yeah. So this would always be a challenge. You can almost predict the point of argument. So there's this zoning, there's north, south. And then there's a micro zoning, Bukola. That's where you get all of the north, central, southeast, northeast, and all of that. So this will be a very interesting conversation. And guess what? We have it for you on the show this morning to help you understand what the thinking is, what the possibilities are, the pros and cons. So not to worry, we'll help you understand this. And just let me take this one from Hustlepreneur, that's Idolax, and I'm saying the best thing that can happen to Nigeria, and I have been an advocate for this for a long time. That's this user saying it's the best thing that can happen, and this user says he's been advocating for it. Not my words, just to be clear. Saying the cost of electioneering is too expensive for every 4 years, while politicians don't use more than 5 years of their 8 years 2-term tenure for governance. Some will say it's even less. So they say the first year of the 4 years is used for litigation and to maybe settle, all of the things that happened, maybe 1.5 years. And then from the 3rd year, right, they start preparing for the next election. So that leaves about 1 year, 2 years for governance.
And the last year is spent on governance. And you can tell,
or election,
that the executives at that time are distracted with electioneering issues and not particularly focused on governance. And governance suffers. So
maybe that's a pro.
The favorite part of this writer's comment is the cost of electioneering, and we must reflect on that as a nation.
$1 billion almost last time out.
And we still have endemic issues of poverty and the economy performing very, very dismally. Well,
there's another user who says that that's Mekano, Bukola.
Mekano says, why must it be rotational? Candidates from wheresoever should be free to contest. Well, that's another part of the conversation. But some people say competence is everywhere, in every part of the country, and so opportunity must be given for expression from every part of the country. But we get you, whoever is competent, regardless of where they come from.
So I think
that's the beauty of democracy.
Exactly, and it's a very interesting debate. I think we've had it for quite a long time, really. So should it be competence, strictly, or representative in that sense, federal character kind of representative, right? People will say you have these competent people across the country. So some have said, let's merge this. Okay, let competence play a big role, and let this representation or federal character also play a major role in this. So I will be interested to see, one, will the National Assembly consider the former vice president's proposal? Right? His party is not in majority. So I think it targeted the deputy Senate president, right? So will that be escalated? Would it then be considered in the Constitution review? That's one. When it goes around the country, how will the state assemblies
vote?
If it even goes around the country, if it's considered.
If it gets past the National Assembly in the first place.
So how will they vote for it?
Some lawmakers have already proposed this, at the beginning of this year. So it's sort of speaking to some portion of the converted. Maybe not all of them are converted. So let's see how it goes.
Let's see. Don't forget, there's also the regional government bit. It looks like there's a lot to really look at and sort of tweak in the country. But as we said earlier on, we're going to be giving you a breakdown of what it entails right here on the show. There's been another video trending online, and it's concerns of, the customers of a bank. A lot of them said they couldn't use the application, they couldn't get access to their money. So what they did was, they approached the bank and sort of organized a mini protest at the gate of the bank. I know Nigerians can give you tales about their experience with banks, from the charges deducted, and they're wondering, I don't even know why I'm being charged for this, to the network. right? You transfer money or you make purchase. You buy credit, for example. Maybe you want to load your
And you're not
prepaid meter,
credited.
and you're not credited.
And there's no reversal.
And there's no reversal. First day, second day, and you expect that this thing should be noticed, right? Money was deducted, service was not provided. So I can tell you this, Nigerians have a lot to say. So you understand why these customers organized that mini protest. If we could just show you what's played out at the gate of the bank, actually as a result of what they describe as frustration trying to access their money. So there you go.
I've been quiet since. Yes. What's happening? What are they doing? What kind of problem is this? I cannot get my money. We hospital treats her without money. I'm going to bring my child now. I just stay quiet since.
We get your thoughts, we get your concerns, and we've been able to amplify it. That's what gladdens my heart
and
here.
the regulators have a role to play in this.
Yes, and the banks, the bank in question has gotten the message. We hope that they do better by their customers, the generality of their customers, not just in the state where this video is coming from, but everywhere across the country. The banks must do better, but particularly because of the quantum of charges that we've already talked about that they deduct for all forms of transactions, which really need not be.
And the customers, they go for the AGMs, or at least they see the profit declared, and they do the math and say, okay, fine, my bank is doing well, so the least I should get is quality service. Across board. Quality service, and maybe reduction in these charges as well. And you will hear that the banking sector is one of the most regulated. Right? The banking sector is one, just like aviation sector. The banking sector is also really regulated. So these things should not be happening. I understand that there was a notice given for some sort of maintenance and all of that. But for these customers, they said they've had these things happen time and again, and they were curious about the timing and the length of this, glitch in code. So we hope the regulators are watching and they will do right by the customers, as well as the banks, the commercial banks in Nigeria. I think it's one of the healthiest sector of our economy. So that health should translate to the customers.
A stark contrast to what's happening in the real sector and to the reality of Nigerians as a whole, as far as the economy is concerned. The banks are cashing out. So the banks should do better, particularly what they call the first generation and second generation banks. They really are doing well. So it should translate at least in quality service to the customers.
Absolutely. So keep your comments coming in. #CTV Morning Brief. If there's anything that you think the nation, the world should know about, send it our way and we'll definitely amplify your voice as we've done to the voices of these Nigerians. But we'll take a moment now. When we return, we're starting off with the big topic of the day. This will interest you as a Nigerian